Welcome back to Kababayan Today. I am G. Tanji from Los Angeles, and now it's time for No History, No Self.
It is now June, which marks the beginning of wedding season in the U.S. Most Kababayans are familiar with what Filipino wedding ceremonies look like today. Usually, they are celebrated according to some variation of a Catholic or Christian-based ritual, given that most Filipinos in the U.S. practice some form of Christianity. And of course, a small minority of our Muslim sisters and brothers marry according to Islamic customs. But all these contemporary practices are very different from Filipino weddings from not that long ago. Well before Filipinos adopted Islam and Christianity, they celebrated distinctive forms of marital practices. If we look back to Filipino history before Spanish colonization, we will see that the grandest sorts of weddings Filipinos engaged in were those between the children of datus, the chiefly class. In fact, because they were such grand, sumptuous events for all the peoples in a village, the Spanish wrote about them in some length, so we know quite a good deal about them. If we look at the marriages of datus, elites though they were, we can glimpse something of the marital customs of Filipinos in earlier times. The first thing to note is that they were very different from our notions of marriage today. Nowadays, we marry for love because we found our one and true soulmate. And when we decide to marry, it's mostly because we, as individuals, have made the determination to do so. But for pre-Hispanic Filipinos, the opposite was true. Marriage wasn't primarily for love, nor was it an arrangement of a bride or a groom's own choosing. Instead, marriages were arranged by parents for economic, social, and even political reasons, particularly for the datus. In this vein, the Filipinos weren't unique. Throughout most of history, throughout most of the world, marriage among elites, and indeed among everyday people, was more often a social contract than an expression of genuine affection between spouses. These marriages could create political alliances, for instance, between two families, a practice that is still true today, of course, as any look at the political class in the Philippines bears out. Nonetheless, because of all of this, the parents' process of arranging the marriages took on a great importance, in some ways a greater importance than even the wedding itself. The first item of negotiation involved what the pre-Hispanic Visayans called bugay, or bride price. This was a carefully negotiated amount paid out by the family, by the groom's family, in products like porcelain, slaves, gold, or other commodity to the bride's family. The fact that the bride's family shared the bugay helped to ensure that marriages were more harmonious. It incentivized her family to treat him well because the bugay would be returned in case of divorce. Following that, there were numerous gifts given from the groom's family to the bride's parents, grandparents, brothers-in-law, and more throughout the many phases of negotiation. The groom's entering into the bride's house, the gaining of favor with the bride, and more. Worth noting is that these negotiations took place over the course of several meetings. At first, they began quite formally, but over the course grew more friendly as the parties imbibed various sorts of alcoholic beverages. Pre-Hispanic Filipinos, as one Spanish chronicler noted, rarely get angry when they get drunk, so their social drinking furthered rather than hindered the discussions. Only after many such meetings and even more attempts at gift-giving could the parents and bride alike consent to the marriage itself. This was a spectacle all on its own, one that we will discuss next week on No History, No Self.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Ako po si G. Tanji. Maraming salamat po sa inyong lahat for supporting our program at magkita-kita po tayo ulit bukas here on the only daily talk show for Filipinos in America. Bye!